Jay here for Stretford Paddock, that's Joe Smith, and this is Transfers Live. It's Transfer Deadline Day live. We are going to be taking you through to the end of the deadline day. We've got, well, you can see a count there. Box. We've got 42 minutes left of this transfer window, so we're going to be getting into it. We're going to be talking about, obviously, Manchester United, what's going on there. There's still a few rumours flying around that United could make an 11th hour move for someone, so we'll be getting into that. We'll be clarifying that. Make sure you're getting involved too. Plus, we'll be looking at some of the other teams, some of the other clubs, and seeing what they're doing, if we even care. So we're getting into all the latest shenanigans at the end of deadline day. Joseph.
Yes.
How have you sort of felt about Manchester? I know we spoke about this on the Paddock podcast, but as we get into the last 42 minutes, me and you've done this now for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
And usually on deadline day, it's usually a little bit later. It's usually 11 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night, whatever. And we're usually in almost semi-panic mode.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, are we going to get the deal done for Sancho or for Cavani or for someone we need desperately? Now, whilst ideally you would want to see Manchester United bring in another midfielder, it doesn't feel like I've got the same sort of anxiousness going on this window. It does feel like United have done pretty much 90% of what we needed to do, and we've done it without too much dramas. What do you think?
There hasn't been any panic buys. I think, I don't think he is a panic buy, but I think the fee that we paid for Sesko is probably the one that we go, oh, he only got 13 league goals last season. That's not amazing.
Yeah.
But I certainly don't think it was a panic buy. And we typically have at least one panic buy, especially after the season that we had. Like, we normally end up being last sort of minute deals, like you said, for likes of Cavani or, I think we got Ahmad, Cavani and Facundo Pellistri, wasn't it? All on deadline day.
Yeah, that was mental.
All just sort of scrabbling to get anything over the line because we didn't have Sancho yet. We couldn't get Sancho sorted, so we ended up just going for everyone.
Yeah.
This deal, this window, like you said, we haven't got the midfielder that we do need.
Yeah.
We should have a midfielder, but it does seem as though the approach is we can't get everything sorted in one window. So let's get the players in that we need, get the players in that actually make sense, get the players in that we want, and not panic. Go back in for players at the end that we wanted earlier in the window, but now we're desperate for. Not spending 55 million, 60 million, 80 million that we've done in the past on players worth half of that.
Yeah.
I'm happy with doing that. And no offence to Newcastle particularly, but when you compare that to Newcastle, they're selling their best player and replacing him with, a nice big tall German lad or player from Germany and Wissa for 55 million quid. That feels much more like a Manchester United window of old than the one we've had, which again, just because it's composed and it's early on doesn't mean the players are going to be any better long term. Yeah. But I do feel as though you're giving yourself a better footing, and it feels as though we're being ran by people who have a bit more of an idea of what they want. Even if we don't know how it's going to work out, I think we're seeing the idea of a vision and a sort of controlled window rather than this kind of, oh my God, this has happened, so now we have to react. Yeah. It feels sort of proactive rather than reactive.
It does. I mean, look, me and you, as I said, we've been in the past where we've gone, literally, who is Amad Diallo? Who is that? Who is, I know we know who he is now. Who is Facundo Pellistri? Like, who is Alex Telles? I've kind of heard of him a little bit, but I don't know loads about him. Like, we've had to sort of brush up on some of these players. I know you might argue, well, you didn't know loads about Lammens, but other than him, pretty much everyone in this window you've known as a big player or a Premier League player or someone who's got a sort of reputation. Where in the past it's been like almost we've just bought players almost for the sake of it or because they're available. Even players where you go, okay, that's a big signing or a good signing. It felt like with someone like Donny van de Beek, for example, we bought him because Ajax said we could. Yeah. It wasn't like it was a target. Certainly the manager didn't seem to want him. But we just got him because it was like, well, he's there, he's done well in this Ajax side, and Ajax are willing to sell him to us for 35 million. So let's get it done. It feels a little bit more like United have led the way in their transfers this window, where we've gone, these are the players we want, these are the areas we want to sort out. And even the one area we didn't, in terms of the midfield, where we've all admitted we did need to strengthen, we haven't. There was an effort to. It wasn't like we went, well, we don't need to worry about the midfield. We had a player in mind. We spoke to the player wanted to come. We then spoke to his club, which is the way we've done all our business this window. And the club were like, you ain't having him. Forget it. Like, that is not happening. So Manchester United, rather than going out and just going and getting anyone who can play midfield, have gone, right.
Or giving him 140 million to get him now.
Doing like, let's just break the bank for him and pay money we haven't got, or, get into this credit facility that we've still got. Let's just do all that to get Baleba, who, let's not forget, there is a slight sort of, not doubt, but question mark over, is he worth the money that Brighton want?
Yeah.
I think that you can have that discussion without people thinking you're insane. Also as well, let's not forget, this window, we've pretty much moved everyone out the door we wanted to. Albeit some of them have been low moves rather than permanent moves, but we have done that. I'm going to get into the chat and the comments, and we're going to go through. First, we're going to go through United's deals, then we'll go through other clubs and what they're up to.
Great.
And then we'll go in through some updates if there's any updates that are worth noting. So get involved in the chat and the comments. I'm going to come to you guys now. Adrian Wilkinson says Chelsea deal fixing Jackson 70 million. Tariq.
It's wild, that.
It is wild.
Yeah.
Moham Dur says midfielder in January. That is an option, of course. We're going to get into that. Mick Holland's in the chat as well. Miles says, I mean, apparently we asked Atletico about a loan for Gallagher. They only wanted a full sale, so we declined. Yeah, I think Chris Wheeler said that.
Yes, we'll get into that in a minute. Yeah.
So, again, United being a bit more sensible. Do we want to buy someone we don't really want long-term on a permanent deal just to get a body in? No. And whilst Conor Gallagher is all right, he's a decent player, I don't think we should be altering our plans to accommodate him. Personally, you may differ, get involved in the chat. Make sure you're hitting that like button as well, please, people. Not even 100 likes yet. Phobos Taco Man says, we got a new glovesman. That's mint. Yeah, obviously, anybody who watches Transfers Live will know that the way to describe a goalkeeper in one of the articles we had was a glovesman, which was horrible.
Is that an actual real one?
That was off the story. Yeah, that was the one you went. It was me and I think it was Aaron Willis did it, and we were reading it. And it said like, you know, the Cameroonian glovesman or whatever. It was just like so insane.
Bad. Yeah,
an insane way to talk about it. Let's talk about United's deals then. In terms of incomings,
yes,
we were obviously Diego Leon. We got him in early. We know about that one. I don't think we need to dwell on that one too much. The deal that we got done early doors was Mateus Cunha. We expected that. We did it.
Yeah.
Happy with that. No qualms. Certainly not. I know it's. Excuse me, a bit of windy pops. I know it's only 3 or 4 games in, but what we've seen so far is that player we saw at Wolves that we wanted to buy. That's the player we've got at United.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
He's got so much that we didn't have before. And actually, he's got some of what we did, which he's got some of the directness and the dribbling ability of a Garnacho, for instance. But on top of that, he's got excellent decision-making inside the box. He looks for his teammates. He's much more creative than Garnacho was. And obviously, he's 6 years older, or 5-6 years older than Garnacho. So, you know, if Garnacho would have stayed, I'm sure I'd be sat here now saying, in 5 or 6 years, Garnacho will have all of those traits. But what we had seen with Garnacho, because let's be honest, this is who he's replaced, isn't it? Or, you know, essentially, him and Mbeumo have replaced Garnacho and sort of Rashford, Sancho, all of them. What we haven't seen with Garnacho that was beginning to worry me was a real development on the mental side of things. It didn't seem to be there. He's still the same player now that he was when he came into the team at 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
That was my big worry with Garnacho, that he wasn't improving. His decision-making wasn't getting better. So I don't see any reason at the moment to think that in 5 years' time, Garnacho will have the stuff that Cunha has, or that, I mean, let alone Mbeumo, because he's the master of the sort of, you know, minimalist actions, making big sort of contributions because he gets things right. He does the small things right every single time. But with Cunha, I just think he carries the ball so well. He loves tracking back. He loves sort of getting a tackle in. He loves the sort of, you can tell he plays on the crowd and he plays on the energy and brings energy to the team in a way that Bruno Fernandes did when he first arrived. I think he looks excellent. It's a shame he's not sort of got the goals yet that I think his players deserved, and now he's injured, obviously. Hopefully he's only out for a couple of weeks. But yeah, so far, and again, 60 million quid. I said this a couple of weeks ago. I don't even know what a 60 million pound player is anymore, you know. I don't know what, I used to know if you buy someone for 60 million, that's like probably one of your club's biggest transfers. Yeah. You expect them to be one of your best players. Nowadays, you know, Wesley Fofana was 75 million. Man. Like, what even is 60 million quid? So for 60 million, for me, all he has to do is be a starting player for us and get us top half. Yeah. And he kind of already is worth the money. So I think he's going to be well beyond that. I'm really impressed with him. What do you make of him?
I love him. Yeah. And you know me, Joe, I'm a simple man with simple thoughts.
I say that to your friends.
You do. You tell them all the time. You're always putting it on everyone's Facebook page.
Simple man.
But I remember beginning of the season, 2 seasons ago, Wolves at Old Trafford, and there's this guy just running through our entire team. I'm like, what is going on? Who the hell is he? And that was him, and he looked amazing. And then obviously you watch a little bit more of him, you see the goals and assists are there, you see he's got something about him, he's got that confidence, he's got that, he's unfazed by it all, he enjoys his football. We've missed a bit of that, someone who actually plays with a smile on his face rather than a slapped ass. And also, one of the things, and this sounds trivial, right, one of the things that I loved against Arsenal in his sort of proper debut was when they were time wasting, and ironically they were time wasting because Ben White was genuinely injured because he's not kicked a ball since. He was right in the middle of them all, Cunha, arguing and pushing them all, and like trying to drag Ben White up. Like he wasn't like having it, and I thought, you know what, we need a bit of that. It wasn't like he's lost his head. It was like, you're wasting time, get on with it. And he wasn't like scared when they all surround him. He's like, and what? Yeah. We've had a bit too much sort of softness at United, where you can bully us and all that. But he's not someone that will be bullied. He's got skill, he's got ability, he's got that confidence, he's got that aura, as the kids say, and he just ticks every single box. And from what I've seen in a United shirt, he's just carried on his Wolves performances.
Which is what you hope for when you buy a Premier League proven player, isn't it? That's why that phrase is, almost a cliche at this point, Premier League proven. But it's because you know that they know they've played on this pitch before, they've played against this team, they've played in this weather, in these conditions, with these fans. Like it is different, and you hear people talk about it. It's not the same as any other league, especially the last 3 or 4 years. I feel like the Premier League's sort of taken a step even beyond where it had been in the sort of 2010s. I think post-COVID, the money that is being spent in the Premier League is astonishing. Yeah. I mean, the fact that United have got this 200 million new attack, we're the 6th highest spenders in the league this season. It's like we're not even in the medal places. We're out of the Champions League places in terms of biggest spenders this summer. No. And you'd assume by the way that we talk about it and the way you think about it, we had a pretty big window. Yeah. The 5 teams have done more than us. And not all of them are big sort of top teams. It's like Newcastle have spent more than us, Tottenham have spent more than us. I think there's been some ropey windows, and we'll get into we'll get into all of them because I want to get through all that.
I know we'll move on quickly. I'll just get your thoughts on Brian Mbeumo as well. He's the next one through the door. This one dragged on, if you can call 4 weeks dragging on. But we knew, we wanted him, he wanted to come. Yeah. He could have gone to Spurs, he's got Champions League football, he could have gone to Newcastle, but all of our signings could have gone to Newcastle and they all said no.
True.
Yeah. And Mbeumo, again, we know what he did at Brentford, 20 Premier League goals. You can't ignore that because no one's done that at United since Robin van Persie. What have you made of him so far?
I think he's the absolute archetypal player that Manchester United needed. I think he is what we've been defined by over the last sort of 5 years in particular, or go back the last decade if you want, is players playing for themselves, playing sort of brainless football, trying to tick a box in terms of fame, or seeing the lights of Old Trafford and seeing Man United as a move to increase their profile as a footballer, or just coming here because the day was here and being idiotic on the pitch as a result. What you see with Brian Mbeumo is almost like, I don't want to say too sensible, but he's just such a sensible player. Yeah. Like what he does is efficient and sensible and predictable, and he would be an absolute dream of a teammate. Because when he gets the ball, if you are the number 9 in the middle, or the overlapping fullback, or the number 6 that's backing him up, you can predict he will do the right thing for that moment. Yeah. And how much of a breath of fresh air is that compared to some of the people in his position before him? I don't want to slag Garnacho off on the left wing and the right wing, but even compare him to Jadon Sancho or Marcus Rashford at times, who again would do individual things and was amazing when he was at his best. But you were never quite sure whether he was going to smack it for 40 yards, as he did, for Barcelona last night, or try and dribble past everyone, or lay it short. Brian Mbeumo, you think he sees the state of the game in front of him, and not every time, because no one's perfect. I'm not saying he's the best footballer in the world, but does the right thing for that moment almost every time. And I think that efficiency and that just sensible predictableness is exactly what we've needed in the team.
You're right, and I think you mentioned it on Cunha, players that want to be here. Also, the mindset of Brian Mbeumo. We've seen it this window where players have spat the dummy out, refused to train, kicked off, gone to social media to post silly Instagram updates, just been absolute knobheads to try and force a move. Mbeumo didn't do that. There wasn't any reports that the Brentford hierarchy were annoyed with him or anything like that. he'd been pretty respectful. He told him he wanted to go to United, but he was still had a good relationship with them. When he gave an interview, he spoke very highly of them.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like they had any sort of issues with him at all. They got the move he wanted to get, but also Brentford got the money they wanted to get for him. It was like everyone sort of was happy with that. And he's come to Manchester United, and he absolutely just looks like a Manchester United player straight away. And he looks like the type of player we need. And I like the fact he's similar to Cunha, but there are differences.
Yeah.
In the sense that he's similar to Cunha in the sense that he can keep hold of the ball well, he can run in behind, he can take players on, he's got strength, but also, like you say, he's a little bit more functional, a little bit less flair than Cunha. But between them, they get loads of goals and assists.
Yeah.
And none of them are getting bullied. None of them are causing you problems. But they're both entertaining to watch. Yeah. They both do what you need them to do as attackers. And they both look like they belong in Manchester United shirts already. He's already off the mark. Yeah. I know one's against Grimsby, but you can only score what's in front of you. And also at the weekend against Burnley. Yeah. Like, he's scoring goals already for Manchester United. So it's certainly not like he's come here and he's going to have one of those stupid 007 fucking stats that everyone seems to love.
I hate all that.
I know, it's just such shite.
Just one thing with him as an example. I mean, obviously, we watched the full game. You were at the game. But if people watching on Match of the Day, the first highlight of the whole game that you saw was a ball over the top. I think it was Bruno or Mason Mount from the sort of left-hand side, just inside our half. Yeah. Over the top. And the ball is going out to the right-hand side to Brandon Burmo. And the ball's coming over his shoulder, over the centre-back. And the first thing he does, first touch, outside of the foot, kills the ball and puts it 2 metres to the left. Yeah. So he can run onto it and hit it first time. And just the fact that it's over the shoulder, first time, outside of his foot, killing the ball, and so that his second touch is a shot, and a free shot as well, the defenders carried on running, is just brilliant. And just like I said, it's just that efficiency of doing the right thing at the right time over and over and over again. And that one, it was a relatively tame save for Dubravka, relatively easy for him. But that's not going to be the case every time. No. And if you can force situations like that into clean, clear views of goal, he's going to have a hell of a season and a hell of a career at United, I think.
100%. John Kine says, Jay, I think Cunha will be far better than Isaac. J.E. Frascone says, good afternoon, gents. It seems as if finally the ownership is changing and getting player contracts under control. It will take more time, but we appear heading in the right direction. Thoughts? It's early doors. There does seem to be these little green shoots where you think, okay, I feel like this makes a little bit more sense than it has in the past. So we'll see. I don't want to get too carried away and say everything's sorted, but it certainly does feel like we are getting our act together, and it should have happened years ago, but this is where we're at. The next one who came in was obviously was Benjamin Sesko. This one was the big surprise one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because not that we went for him and got him, because obviously I think there was rumblings that we wanted a striker. It was sort of the quickness of it. It was like we were linked with him, and then within 5 days he was a United player.
Yeah.
Almost the opposite of Brian Mbeumo. We'd been linked with him months ago, and then obviously we towards the end of the window we got him. Sesko, quick deal, done. Kind of sort of closed the door on Rasmus Højlund's United career, which we'll get to outgoings in a minute. But of the ones so far, I think we've just had a post from United on Rasmus Højlund, which I'll get to in a minute.
Yeah.
But for Sesko, it's not been plain sailing in a United shirt so far. Again, it's only a small sample size, but he's certainly a player that came with a big reputation.
Yeah, he's not started a league game yet.
That's I don't want to be too harsh.
With every signing, I always say you get at least one season.
Yeah.
And I don't mean you can be all, I'm not going to not draw conclusions after a year or, not comment negatively if someone's having a terrible performances. But I think you can't say too much, especially when you're coming from another league. And time again, we see with the Bundesliga, it's not the easiest one to adapt to the Premier League from. But he's got the physicality, he's got the speed, he's got the size that can help him overcome the difficulties coming to England. But again, he's not started a single game, let alone had a full season. I'm very optimistic that it'll be a good play. I think that we saw in the second half against Burnley, those two headed chances that he had. Probably should have done better with the second one. I think the first one was just too high for him. But if you can have 3 or 4 shots a game, arrive in the box at the right times, that's all modern strikers are asked to do. A little bit of hold up play would be nice here and there. But I was chatting with my dad this morning about Sesko, and about how the role of strikers has changed so much in the last 15 years or so. Like, modern strikers now, let's be honest, and I'm not trying to have a go at Sesko by, praising him by having a go at him. Modern strikers aren't great footballers. Like, a lot of them. Like, Erling Haaland isn't a great footballer, he's a great goal scorer. Victor Gyökeres, you can see the way he touches the ball, the way he holds the ball up, he's not a great footballer, but he's a great goal scorer, or it certainly was for Sporting. I think Benjamin Sesko is not a great footballer, and maybe will be better than some of the players I've mentioned, but he could still be a great goal scorer. I think players and strikers in particular is so system based, and it's so stay in the right position, do the miniature thing that you have to do. Look back 15, 20 years, there was roughly 3 types of strikers. Obviously, there's more than this. I'm just trying to be general. There was the kind of quick, getting behind, running number 9s.
Yeah.
Then there was the sort of, maybe like who would that be? Like a sort of Andy Cole type, or
first one that sprung to mind for me.
Yeah, that there's those sorts of number 9s. Then there was the kind of creative dribbling kind of 10 goals, 20 goals, 10 assists number 9s, the sort of Wayne Rooney types, where you can do a bit of everything, and brilliant footballers. Then there was the kind of target man types.
Battering rams.
You sort of, Didier Drogba would be a perfect example of that. But even Didier Drogba, he could hold up a ball, push his defender out of the way, bring it down onto the floor and bring other people in so consistently. I can't think of any strikers in world football at the moment that are really sort of any of those 3 things. Like, I feel like the art of holding the ball up is gone.
Yeah.
It's not the same as it used to be. Attackers scoring goals and creating for others, they just get immediately taken. They're not even number 9s anymore. You have to be a number 10 or a winger if you do that now. Yeah. And the running in behind attackers, they are wingers. So I think Sesko is very much a modern striker. And I think he'll be successful. I know it's a very long answer there, but I feel like there's a lot of criticism and sort of scepticism around Sesko already. And I just want to sort of look at the fact that number 9s aren't what they were 15, 20 years ago. They're not asked to do the same things. They are goal-scoring machines. And I think he can be that. I do think he can do that.
No, I completely agree. Højlund confirmed, says Chris Griffiths. Good luck, Rasmus. Yeah, we've had the tweet from Manchester United. It says Rasmus Højlund has completed a loan move to Napoli for the rest of the 25-26 season. We wish you the best of luck, Rasmus. I can't think of a better move for him. Yeah. Genuinely. I can't think of a move that should suit him better than that. It's a club that has obviously had a lot of success. We've seen Scott McTominay go there and win a Scudetto and just be loved by the fans, and obviously they've got Kevin De Bruyne in there as well, who's gone there. They're a club that whilst they do have history and a reputation, have also the modern day version of Napoli is doing very well. And it feels like him knowing that league, having had success in that league, that helps him get to the Manchester United move as well. He can go there and he can hopefully get his career going again. I'll just give you some stat. We did a tweet a couple of days ago. So Rasmus Højlund joined from Atalanta for 64 million plus 8 million. First season, 16 goals in 43 appearances. Won the FA Cup. Certainly nothing to be ashamed of that season. Second season, 10 goals in 52 appearances. Wasn't ideal really. We scratched beneath the surface. Leaves on loan to Napoli with an option to buy. Best of luck. Yeah, I mean, he had a little bit of second season syndrome, didn't he? And I don't think he was helped massively by a dysfunctional Manchester United team with the likes of. It wasn't really. Him and Garnacho had a thing, didn't they? Where they didn't get. You could see they weren't on the same page. That didn't help. He lost a lot of confidence. The crowd were on him. Social media was on him. He goes on social media. So I think it was best for all concerned that he does move on. We'll get to the outgoings in a minute. Just one final one on the incomings. Senne Lammens done today.
Yep.
I think you would have to be just beyond thick to not believe Manchester United needed a goalkeeper. I don't want to dwell on this too much because let's not do some ham-fisted scouting report on a player neither of us have really watched.
Yeah.
But the fact we've got a goalkeeper, what do you make of it?
Yeah, good. Needed to happen. And I think once you realise Belabor wasn't going to happen, you can get a functioning, young, promising keeper that in 2-3 years' time could be one of the best keepers in the league, hopefully, for under 25 million quid. It always made sense to me, post the sort of Belabor approaches, that we'd probably pivot and go for a keeper, because if you want another midfielder, you're looking at 40 to 80 million.
Yeah.
The keeper is 20 to 25
yeah.
for a sort of young up-and-coming goalie. So, yeah, I like him, like what I've seen of him. It's weird to me a bit that we're moving away from a kind of ball-playing keeper, but then again, things change, things move, and like I said to you earlier, set pieces might be the next wave of goal-scoring threats, and we've seen how much of a danger it's been this season. Arsenal have, let's be honest, I'll give them credit, reinvented the game when it comes to set pieces and how much of a threat they can be. I think the Premier League is going to follow suit on that. It's such a big physical league. Maybe ball-playing keepers are slightly less important than they were 5-10 years ago. Look at City, they've just signed James Trafford and Donnarumma. Yeah. Neither of them are Edison, and they're selling Edison to get them to win. So who knows? Trends change, things change. We'll see.
Yeah, Big C says no midfielder has ruined what could have been a superb window. I mean, I don't think it's ruined it, but it would have been the icing on the cake. Jack Tank says, so glad Emi Martinez didn't come in. Yeah, I was struggling to get on board with that one, to be honest with you. It just felt like I was going to see him throwing one into his net and think, what have we done here? A8 says, inexperienced striker and keeper. Yeah, but, I mean, the experienced goalkeepers, the ones that were available, I don't think we could have got Donnarumma. There wasn't that many great options out there, especially when you look at the money involved. So I get it.
Also,
go on.
Change the word inexperienced for high potential.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you.
Hit that like button. Get involved in the chat and the comments. I want to talk to you about outgoings because we had this so-called bomb squad that we wanted to get rid of. At the beginning of the window, you would have put Marcus Rashford, Anthony, Jadon Sancho. I think Tyrone Malacia catching strays. I'll keep saying that because I think it's true. And Alejandro Garnacho in that sort of bomb squad, as they were given the moniker of. Rashford, I think the first one out the door to Barcelona. I think it's a loan with an option to buy, I think. Big move for him. You can't get much better than leaving Manchester United to go to Barcelona. Time for him to go on it, really. I think if anyone on the planet, you've been as supportive as Marcus Rashford as anyone can be. But
yeah, time to go on it, and it's a great move for him. I know people are sort of reveling in the fact that he's not been amazing for him so far, but again, we're 3 games into the season. Let's not judge anyone.
Just shows you the hatred, though, doesn't it? The hatred towards him. Let's call it what it is. It's hatred because I don't hate him. Well, you do.
Yeah,
you're focusing on a player no one plays for Manchester United who you didn't want when he was at United and reveling in the fact that he's not doing well, even though you don't want him at United, so you'd want him to do well at Barcelona because that makes them more likely to buy him. Then you've obviously got a lot of hate for him.
Because what they don't want Barca to buy him and enjoy him. They want him to fail, and him to sort of feel the pain that they feel. I just think, I think it's silly. Fair enough, sometimes a player leaves and you have a bit of a, sour taste in the mouth, and you think, but I think watching another club in another league, I get it's Barca, people watch Barca, but let me clip up some posts of Rashford not playing very well and love it as a United fan.
I just don't get it. Also, Dal's TV has just gifted 5 Stretford Paddock memberships.
Thank you very much.
Is fantastic.
Love
Benjamin
that.
Topping, who we know when we met in America, says would rather have a ball stopping keeper than a ball playing one. Where can we get a Paddock hoodie, Jay? That is going to be a big announcement coming up in the next week or so. Sorry about to put it on the back burner because we've all been mad busy, but keep your eyes peeled, keep your ears to the grind. You're going to hear about that. We are going to be launching a new merch line. Well, loads of new merch, so we'll keep you posted as always. The next one out the door, if I can get this in chronological order. So I think the next one was actually Garnacho.
It was.
Because Jadon Sancho, I think even now we're still waiting to get confirmation on that one. And Anthony was, I think, after Garnacho, I want to say. I think he was like yesterday. So Garnacho, 40 million. That was the one that brought in the big bucks, if you can call it big bucks, in today's day and age. Probably the one that's sort of done his best to piss everyone off in the last sort of few weeks.
Which is weird, isn't it? And I'm not a huge fan of Garnacho, and I think on the pitch he used to frustrate me a lot. More really than his off-the-pitch stuff. I know that's what ended his United career, was the off-the-pitch stuff, and you can't argue with the manager, and we've got to reset the culture. I get all that. But he hasn't done that much wrong, has he? To get people really hate him now. Like McCullough, obviously, on the podcast, is really sick of him. And I get that he's been an arsehole. But I don't, he wore Rashford's shirt when he was at Villa, which is stupid, and it is obvious why he was doing it. He just feels like a little kid to me. He behaves like a little baby. I just think, grow up a bit. That's what I would say to him. I just think, you don't have to, bite, as the kids say, lash out at your enemies
I hate this. I hate this saying, right? But I'm going to use it.
Say it.
Because I know lads like that. And I think there was an element, it wasn't the complete reason for why he just failed at the top level, but there was an element with Ravel. He was just surrounded by bad people, and I know that because I used to meet him and those people, and I used to think they're bad influence on you. Now I know he had to take some responsibility himself. I'm not saying it's just because of the people he hung around with that his United career didn't work out, but that was a big part of it. And I think Garnacho's got bad people around him who don't advise him very well, and I think someone should have got hold of him and just said, look, do a fucking post saying thank you to Manchester United.
Delete your brother's social media accounts right now.
That right now, off the bat, that's doing no one any favours.
Yeah.
Do a post, put yourself with the FA Cup, put yourself with the FA Youth Cup, put yourself winning the Puskers Award, put that on a nice little montage, say big thank you to Manchester United, the club that took me from Atletico to whatever, and help me, fulfil my dreams. Yeah. I will never forget the fans. Now on to the next chapter.
Got to play with my idol, fucking Cristiano.
Yeah, picture you Cristiano celebrating like that. Just do that, and then people will go. I mean, it's not going to turn everyone into loving you.
No.
People go, all right, you know what? We got 40 million quid for him. It didn't work out. We got some good moments, whatever. But to just do nothing other than talk about how Chelsea are the best team in the world, which they're not. It's just petulant.
Do you know what it confirms as well? It absolutely confirms that he is online too much.
Yeah.
Because if he was just the player he is on the pitch and left, it's not been that bad. Like, he was playing up until the last game of the season, was playing every week for us last year.
Yeah.
Never really got booed, never really got loads of stick. Like, Højlund and Maguire and Rashford have had a lot more stick in the ground than Garnacho has.
Yeah.
And it's proven to me that part of the narrative around him and his career is this fighting with fans online thing.
He's got, I mean, I was going to say he's got to stop it up now. He's gone.
It's clearly, he's reading the sort of social media stuff of it all.
The thing is as well, and I'm not saying, obviously, I've not spent loads of time with him, but when I met him, he does seem all right.
Yeah.
He just, chatting to him, and he was chatting to my son, and he seemed like an all right kid. And he was talking about his own kid. He just had a kid and being settled in Manchester and the food and all the rest of it. Yeah. And I thought he came across as quite well, and my lad was just sort of chewing his ear off for a bit, and he was all right. Do you know what I mean? I thought he's not a complete dickhead.
No.
But then, obviously, the actions that he's done on socials, the interview he gave after the Europa League final, it's not great, and he had to go, and he's not covered himself in glory at all, and I'm glad he has gone. I think it's best for all concerned if he does.
Yep.
We have had another post, I think, from Manchester United.
Yes.
The Man United posts are coming thick and fast now when it comes to thanking and saying goodbye to players. Anthony has moved to Real Betis in a permanent transfer. This is from United. We thank Anthony for his efforts during his time as a Red and wish him the best of luck in the future. I mean, I don't want to be too harsh on Anthony, but I would say he's one of the worst signings in our history.
For the price, yeah.
We've not in terms of ability.
Had worse players than him.
Bro, I could name you 30 players who are worse ability-wise than...
I could name some still in the squad.
Anthony. I certainly can't name you any we spent
euros,
90 million euros on.
No, it's
who gave us,
that.
I'd say, 20 good games. It's just not enough. It's not good enough.
And it goes back, and obviously everyone blames Ten Hag for that signing. And of course, if Ten Hag wasn't our manager, I'm 100% certain we never would have signed Anthony. Yeah. So he has to take some responsibility. But it also goes to show just how badly we were run above the manager.
Yeah.
That we would ever, first of all, buy him because he wasn't good enough, and second of all, pay that much money for him. No manager should have the ability and the power to just sign a bad player for 90 million euros.
I just think
that was just incompetence above Ten Hag.
I also as well, I think Ten Hag was backed into a corner because those first two results.
Yeah.
Where he probably thought, is he worth that? No. Will he do a job for me? Yes.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it, I need results.
It was sanctioned by people above him.
Yeah.
It wasn't him.
I could get sacked if we lose to the Scousers Everly. I could be out on my ear after fucking 3 games, which is ironic because he's just been sacked after 3 games at Leverkusen. Like, he needed a win. He needed to get going. And he probably thought, right, well, fuck it, if it's him or no one. Yeah. Casemiro for 70 and him I don't give a shit, just get him, mate.
Just get him.
Like, I need to save my job.
He got him third. He got third that season.
Do you know what I mean?
It's not amazing, but it was necessary.
Spoke to me and you after the Carabao Cup final, we were happy with what was going on. We wouldn't have said, oh, we fucked it here. We were like, yeah, and it's all going well. It's just, after that was a sort of high, that was the high mark. Yeah, high watermark. And then after that, it sort of descended into what turned out to be, I know we had the FA Cup final win against City, but that was a bit of an outlier. Chris Wheeler says, Man United confirm Anthony's moved to Real Betis. Fee is 21.7 million with 50% sell-on clause. Deal done after United lowered their asking price slightly to avoid paying off the remainder of his contract. Yeah, just get him gone.
There was some mention in this one, by the way, and it'd be nice to see if we get this confirmed. Typically, these sell-on clauses, these sell-on percentages are in profit.
Yeah.
The percentage of the profits. I think it was Charlotte Duncan. Oh, and I didn't see her say it. I saw people quoting her that this was a straight up 50% sell-on fee. So if they, normally it would be you get the 21.5 that you bought him for. Let's say you sold him for 41.5 million. We would then get 10 million each after that. What I saw is that United simply owned 50% of the sell-on. So if they sold him for 20 million, we get another 10. I'd like to see that confirmed if anyone can find that. It was someone quoting Charlotte Dunker, how the aggregators quote stuff. I'm not 100% sure whether that's the case or not. But obviously, if it is, that would be amazing because he only needs to be sold for, like I said, 20 million quid at some point. For United to get another 10 for him.
Yeah.
Or,
Comes in handy that as well, because let's not forget the Alvaro Fernandez money, the Anthony Elanga money. Who was it? Max
Oyedele, yeah.
Yeah, that all helps.
Okay, so in the David Ornstein piece, he has said that it is 50% of any profits. So again, I don't know whether Charlotte Dunker
we'll try and get that cleared up.
Disagree, or whether that was a bad quote or what.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But the main thing is we've got some money. He's gone. Fine.
Absolutely.
Tony Dunn with a bit of breaking news says, Jay, just seen Belabor outside Continental Pizza in Eccles. It's happening. Fucking mint.
Is it? Have you ever been there?
Yeah, of course.
Is it any good?
Belabor is all right.
No, Continental Pizza.
Of course it's good. It's in Eccles. We don't have bad food in Eccles. Get a grip. It's like Worksop.
You've never been to Speedy Peppers, mate, after a night out. Jiminy crickets, that place. If those walls could talk. Actually, one of them can. It's got that much fungus on it. Anyway, carry on. Christmas Day, there was some nights in there.
So, Marcus Rashford, Alejandro Garnacho, Anthony, Dunn, Sancho. I think we're still in the sort of...
Deal agreed, but not confirmed.
Yeah, I don't think we've had that sort of confirmed. It looks like he's going to Aston Villa on loan. There was talk that maybe that could have been a permanent deal and that would have been involved Emi Martinez coming to Manchester United as well, perhaps, but that was not happening. Jadon Sancho, I don't think, wants to go to Aston Villa on a permanent deal. He wants to go on loan. Yeah. I mean, it is a World Cup year. He needs to play football somewhere. He didn't want to stay at Chelsea or go back to Chelsea. He didn't want to go to Roma. He didn't want to go to Juve. He didn't want to go to Besiktas. He has gone to Aston Villa. Obviously, Villa took Marcus Rashford last season and helped him get his career going again to the point that he got to move to Barcelona. Sancho to Villa, I mean, of all the players I'm annoyed with, I think genuinely, I have to be careful here, but almost in Manchester United's history, I don't think there's few players that have annoyed me more than Jadon Sancho. Because I think Jadon Sancho had the opportunity and the ability to be so much more for Manchester United, and I think it is purely down, and I don't like using this word because I think it gets overused, attitude. It gets thrown at players, especially, let's be honest, especially players of colour. It goes, attitude problem. But I think when it's right, it's right. And for me, Jadon Sancho had a terrible attitude as soon as he arrived at Manchester United. We heard rumours, and more than rumours, reports that there was a fine system when you were late, and he was late the most, I think, when in his first season. I remember Nemanja Matic giving an interview about that. Ollie couldn't get a tune out of him. Ragnick couldn't get a tune out of him. I know he had the goal at the Etihad and one or two other moments. Ten Hag couldn't get a tune out of him. Again, he had the goal against Liverpool, but there were little moments. That was it. He sent him away for 3 months to Holland to try and fix whatever was wrong with him in terms of, we don't know whether it was mental health issues, which obviously I'm not judging anyone for that. I've been there myself. Or whether it was physical, whatever it was. He went away, came back, didn't do much. Then fell out with the manager, did a stupid...
Publicly as well.
Did a stupid social media post when the manager was asked a genuine question after the Arsenal game, and he gave an honest answer. Jadon Sancho spat his dummy out, went on social media. Then he ends up training with the Resis, goes to Dortmund, does all right, ends up going to a Champions League final, comes back, obviously doesn't have a future United, goes to Chelsea, then starts posting stupidness on social media under Marcus Rashford's post about freedom and all this other garbage. Just a disastrous signing for Manchester United. And the reason it annoys me so much is because I expected so much from him. This is a kid that was in Dortmund absolutely tearing it up. United wanted him for so long. He was keen on a move to Manchester United. He got a move to United. He was good friends with some of the squad already. He gets here and he does pretty much fuck all. Yeah. And then just causes problems.
For 3 years, basically, now. He's been not little more than a nuisance for 3 years. And like you said, and people definitely do throw the words attitude and lazy and stuff around with people of colour massively.
Yeah.
But like you said, at some point you have to just say, to fall out with the manager publicly, to be, mention the stuff in training with England, with Dortmund, with Man United, all the things you've mentioned, I'm not going to go back through them all. Yeah. I think at some point you just have to say, his attitude's not right. He's unprofessional. He is. It's so unprofessional in any profession, regardless of what profession. Like, I've worked in other jobs. If I went on social media and slagged off my boss and called my boss a liar on social media, I would have got sacked from any of those jobs.
Of course.
That isn't just a Man United football, this, that, and the other. That is just absolute unprofessionalism.
Yeah.
And especially, that's the, people always say, oh, I'm not going to feel sorry for someone on X amount of thousands a week, or, you should be doing better than that. You should work harder. You should, not get injured or whatever. People just, if you're earning money, you're not allowed to do anything. But what I will say is, if you are earning big money, you cannot slag your employer off on social media, especially when all they've done is encourage you to match the effort of your teammates. I just think, it's absurd the way he acted.
Just look at someone, right, for example, like Jesse Lingard. Yeah?
Yeah.
Jesse Lingard, by the end, it didn't work out for Jesse Lingard. I'm not going to rewrite history. But Jesse Lingard is a player that, for about 3 or 4 years, played regularly for Manchester United, won some trophies, scored in cup finals, and actually did a job at Manchester United. And I think Jadon Sancho had more ability than Jesse Lingard. 100%. I do. I actually think 100%. He was a more talented footballer than Jesse Lingard. But he never got anywhere near the heights, if you can call it that Jesse Lingard got, because he just didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And you might fault Jesse in the way it ended and all that, but there was a period where Jesse Lingard obviously gave a toss for Manchester United and turned up for Manchester United and helps us win some trophies, which, call me old-fashioned, kind of matters. But then you got someone like Jadon Sancho, who I would say is a much better player, has much more ability, could reach the heights that I don't think Jesse quite had in him, yet didn't get anywhere near the levels Lingard did consistently, because he just couldn't be arsed.
It's weird, isn't it, with Sancho? It's almost like he's sort of, I know he has played for Chelsea and he has played for Dortmund. He's hardly been sort of wasting away for the last couple of years, but it feels like he's almost willing to put his career second, where you think, like, why hasn't he gone for a permanent move somewhere now? No. Why didn't you go to Chelsea? Well, I know, obviously, at the start of the window, maybe you didn't want to take the wage cut then. Maybe if Chelsea bought that same offer to him now, he might accept it. But why didn't you go to Roma? Why didn't you go to, I think Napoli were interested at one point, Juventus? You think, come on, man! You can be a legend or a fan favourite somewhere. Yeah. Find your level, find a club that you want to be at, and go for it. And instead, it's another year of his career is in this sort of limbo. You think you're just wasting away here.
I spoke to someone who knows, someone who works for his agents, and they said they've been banging their head against the wall with him.
Really?
Like, genuinely, they've been just frustrated with his actions. I'll name this podcast later. Sent a Stretford Paddock gift membership.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sky Sports, thank you very much. I'll name this podcast later. Sky Sports News have got a shot of Big Ben as their thing to talk. I mean, we've got the big ticker down there, but looking at Big Ben to hear the 11
I'm glad you pointed out, because I looked at it and it didn't even register in my mind.
Let's go over to Big Ben live for the news. What time is it, Ben?
Honestly, the window is about to shut. We haven't really spoken too much about other clubs. The big move today, I think, is Alexander Isak going to Liverpool. Joe, I mean, Liverpool, who probably favourites for the title, as all things stand now, with City not having a good start and Arsenal being a bit okay but not great. They've just bought probably the second best striker in the league.
Yeah. Let's say they've spent 400 million quid.
Okay, sorry, I was just.
You know what I mean? I know you weren't.
You're right. They've gone turbo.
But they've won the league and spent 400 million pounds. Like, it's unbelievable. Realistically, no one's ever done what they've just done.
No.
I think up until Chelsea did it, I don't think anyone ever spent 400 million quid before. So they've absolutely gone for it. You've got to give them that. The only thing I'm going to say that I think, could this be not quite as emphatic a sort of title retaining as it looks like it will be, have they changed too much? Have you changed an unbroken, or you've tried to fix an unbroken formula too much? Would be my only thing. But you think, are they too good to win the league? That was a stupid thing to say.
Do you know what? You make a good point, because listen, we're hoping they don't win the fucking league, obviously. But I remember United buying Ruud van Nistelrooy and Juan Sebastian Veron when we just won 3 in a row. We finished third.
Yeah.
Like, it can happen where, I'm not saying Liverpool finish third, although I hope they fucking do, or finish lower than that. Like, it can happen where you have a winning team and you add new players into it who are mint, but for whatever reason, it's not quite where it wants to be. Yeah. Look, they've brought enough quality in there. They've got enough quality there that still seems to be performing at a certain level for me to think that, unfortunately, the Scouts are going to get to 21 before we do. Yeah. But we'll wait and see. We can hope.
The other thing as well, sorry.
No, please.
Have they signed Mark Gay?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Done? Because obviously the window's just closed. Mark Gay was set to go there. Then there were these reports that Palace couldn't get a replacement in time. I think after Isak, he will be their second best signing of the summer.
I think Mark Gay's a good player. I think he's got the very good mindset. Didn't spit his dummy out, did he? Played for Palace yesterday, or when was it yesterday, and scored.
He scored, yeah.
Obviously very much respected and revered by the Palace fans. Got himself into the England team. I actually think he's a bit up and down with England when I've watched him, but he's certainly a good defender. I'm not disputing that.
The reason I think he would be so important for them is because every other transfer they've made, I think. What's the left back called? I can't think of his name. Kirkes. Yeah, that's Kirkes. I think he's a very good player as well and improves over Robertson. But the other transfers they made, I don't think actually make them that much better. I think Gay, if either Konate or obviously Van Dijk get injured, dropping down from either Konate to Gay or Gay starting over Konate as time goes on, is a far more helpful player to have than some of the attacking players that they've brought in. I think that they've actually improved by him quite a lot. There
was I think Ornstein tweeted an hour ago, which is an eternity ago in the deadline day, but it said Gay underwent medical ahead of proposed transfer from Palace to Liverpool, but moving jeopardy amid Palace issues finding adequate replacement. Talks now between 25-year-old and manager Glasner to make final decision on Liverpool switch. Obviously, Palace have already lost Eberechi Eze in this window, so losing Gay without a replacement, it would be a little bit problematic for them, so I can understand why they're reluctant to do that. Edward Porter, I don't like calling you Edwin. Edward Porter says this window shows we are stepping in the right direction. It's not been a perfect window, but we have been more clever in the market. I agree. I think.
Should we?
All I was saying is I like the fact there's not any short-term fixes here. Like when we bought, and I know Casemiro's become sort of the bogeyman of transfers with certain people because of how much we paid for him at his age. But when you bought Casemiro, you think you're maybe going to get 2 seasons out of him, 3 at best. And I think everyone can agree those first 6 months he was mint, and then he's not been as good since. But all the players we've got, Sesko, Mbumo, Cunha, I know Leon's a one for the future, Lammens, are all players that you'd expect to be playing for Manchester United in 3 years' time and be even better than they are now or just as good. There's definitely a longevity there with these signings. So in those 3 years, if you can add more signings, if you can go and get a Carlos Baleba, or you can go and get a Adam Wharton, or whoever, then you're going to improve your squad massively and improve your chances of actually maybe pushing for that title, whether that's in 2028, like Omar Barada was saying, or maybe a little bit later. But it's certainly doable with some of the players we've got now. Harry Amas has joined Sheffield Wednesday on loan.
Good luck to him. Absolute S show going on over there at the minute. So
you know a bit about Wednesday, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, only just from one of my best mates is a Wednesday fan, and a few of my mates are, and we sort of chat about some of the madness that's gone on over there.
Just tell us then.
Not too much to go into. There's a really good article.
Okay, sorry, I'm just curious. I like Harry Amas, and I want to do well.
That kind of goes through a lot of it, but down the years, obviously not been paying the players, not been paying the staff for a long time. Looking for a new owner, but refuses to sort of show anyone the books as to what they're actually buying. So no one's really that interested, because why would you buy a business that you can't see how it's being ran? Sold the stadium to himself, sold Hillsborough to himself, the owner. Jesus, so technically Sheffield Wednesday don't own their own stadium anymore. His sort of little nephew or son was kind of basically in transfer negotiations at one point. It's honestly just absolute carnage. They've let all their young players go for barely any money. Loads of players have left in the summer on the cusp of kind of financial, catastrophe. But good luck to Harry Amas because they need some players, especially a player like him who's got that. I know height-wise he's not necessarily the biggest, but he's got energy and work rate, and hopefully he'll do well there.
Yeah, I like Harry Amas. I feel like he might just suffer from, like you say, not having the height and maybe the pace that you need to be the very high top level wing back or full back. I hope I'm wrong, and I'd love to see him back in the United shirt and doing well, because in terms of his actual ability and his mindset, it's phenomenal. We spoke to him a couple of times on tour. Steve spoke to him, and he's got everything you could want from a Manchester United player in terms of the way he goes about things. So I wish him well. I hope he does well, and I'll be keeping my eye on that. And obviously Finn, who does academy review, we're going to be getting him in during the season, and all the players that have gone out on loan, we will be keeping a little eye on them and giving updates on them, because some of them will undoubtedly come back to Manchester United, and I hope that one day Harry Amas is one of those. Certainly not writing him off by any stretch of the imagination. We'll just have to wait and see. Abdi Kadir Sheikh says, have you guys seen how many players Chelsea have sent to their multi-club model Strasbourg? How is this not investigated? Chelsea are weird. Didn't they just get, what's his name? Whose name I can never, Facundo Buonanotte from, is it Brighton?
Yeah.
On loan.
With no option to buy.
Why the fuck are they loaning players from Brighton in a position where they've got 27 other players? What? Ben Chilwell's gone to Strasbourg.
Ben Chilwell has gone to Strasbourg. So he's, what is he, a 27, 28-year-old left back?
Weird move.
It's not a weird move because it makes complete sense when you realise they're literally using Strasbourg as a training ground for their squad.
I meant for him.
Oh yeah, for him it is,
because I think that he's someone who's got a decent chance of gate crashing the World Cup.
Yeah, if let's say he goes to West Ham or Wolves or whatever, and has at Fulham has a really good season on loan, which I know he gets injured all the time, so it's unlikely.
No, but it can happen.
Could definitely be in the World Cup. Now all of a sudden he's going to Strasbourg.
Yeah.
What is this? What are we doing? Why is Chelsea always just... Should we get into some other teams' transfers?
Yeah, well, we're sticking on Chelsea. Fabrizio Romano, you might have heard of him, tweeted 30 minutes ago. Nico Jackson deal documents have just been signed, all sealed. He's new FC Bayern Munich player. Sorry, I've got Harvey, our social media guys, has pointed this out. Because Romano said medical done, and Chilwell on the Ben Chilwell front says joins ambitious project at Strasbourg with Liam Rosenwar with European football, and Harvey just sent us a message saying bro said ambitious project.
He's going to Strasbourg.
Yeah, ambitious projects. Jesus wept.
Ambitious project.
Yeah, Chelsea just on a little bit more on the Rasmus Højlund move, because I felt like I sort of brushed over it slightly. It's a €6 million loan fee, 44 million euros option to buy, which has become mandatory under certain conditions. I think if Napoli get Champions League football, they have to buy him.
Yeah, I
think that was what I read. Also, I think in terms of PSR and all that, United wanted around 40 million quid for him to cover that, and
doing
that can happen. Højlund, whether you think he's good enough for Manchester United, he's another player that never really caused any issues. It's just his ability probably wasn't at what it should be. Other teams who've gone a bit turbo, Spurs.
Yeah, they've spent more than us.
Spurs
they're pushing
do you know what?
Million.
Spurs can just fuck off, right? Because honestly, it does my head in with the whole Spurs thing, because this happens a lot lately, because we've somehow sunk to Spurs' level, and I say that as we lost a fucking FA Cup final to them, but like with the whole Matthijs Tel thing. Do you remember when it was like Spurs got him? And it's like, why aren't we getting him? And it's like, didn't they get him with an obligation to buy?
I think it was an option, but they have gone for it.
Yeah, and it was like United looked at him and was like, no, that's not a good deal. And he's bang average. Yeah. And it's like when they got him, it was like, oh, we should have got him. It's like when they got Maddison, oh, we should have got him. And then I think, well, should we have though? Are these the players that we...
Maddison's been injured for basically 2 years.
Yeah.
He's good when he plays, but he never plays.
Like, it's just this whole thing of like, oh, we shouldn't. Yeah. And it's like, we were looking at Moani, and I don't really rate him. And they've gone and got him. Like, he's a decent player, but I don't think he's the answer to fucking United's problems.
And what'll happen though is he'll score 2 goals in his first 3 games, and will be destroyed on social media for getting Sesko in instead of him, and then in 20 games time he'll be on the bench and Richarlison will be playing in front of him.
They do it all the time. You always hear this fucking thing. You nailed it a few years ago when it was like, oh, Spurs have had the best transfer window ever, because they brought in Richarlison and fucking I think was it Basuma and Jed Spence and it was the lad we used to Perisic. Yeah. And everyone's like, oh, it's Spurs' season this season. And about 4 months later, the fucking manager fell out of everyone and was in hospital, and they had to bring someone else in. Then he came back and then got sacked. It was just a fucking mess. Yeah. It was just like...
But they've gone big again. They've spent loads of money again. So obviously they're going for it, and they can't finish 16th again, and United can't finish 15th again. But I always think with Tottenham's transfers, a lot of times I look at them and think, how much better have you got? Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, just on the... Sorry to interrupt, I didn't mean to cut you off there. On the Napoli website, and again, this has been translated, so we don't know, there might be some misinformation or just a bit of mistranslation. It says that Højlund from Manchester United Football Club on loan with an obligation to buy. Now, I don't know if they're saying obligation to buy and they mean if we do certain or if we get Champions League football or whatever, but I'm sure it'll...
By the sound of it, it is obligation assuming certain conditions are met. Isn't it?
I think Højlund's probably done with United, isn't he? I think he was willing to stay and fight for his place, and the club made it clear there's no point in you doing that because you ain't going to play for us. I mean, he couldn't even get any minutes, could he, against Fiorentina in pre-season. So I think he's probably a little bit miffed as well because we've gone out and bought Benjamin Sesko, and if you back yourself, you're probably thinking, I can do what he's doing. Also, there was obviously an issue with Garnacho. Garnacho spat his dummy out, it's going, maybe I can, this will be my opportunity. Hasn't been given it. Gone to Napoli, like I said earlier. Wish him well. Arsenal, quickly, what do you make of their window? Are you impressed?
I tell you what, when I watched them against us and I watched them against Liverpool, I worried for them. Because, again, people love spending money and how much money you've spent and how big you've gone in the window. Actually look at how much you have improved the team and improved the positions. Because it's like, but United have got to do this because how much money have we wasted in the last... Every Man United fan knows what it's like to waste £1 billion on players who aren't good enough. So it's very possible to spend money on players who don't make you better. And I look through Arsenal's transfers. The left-back, I haven't seen enough of. I'm not going to comment on him. He could be great, and they do need a new left-back. But I look at Zubimendi, and I think he's a decent player. I think he's not quick enough for the Premier League, and that would worry me if I was an Arsenal fan. I don't think he's better than Thomas Partey, although again, I know they couldn't keep Thomas Partey with what was going on. Yeah. But have they got better in that position? I don't think they have. I don't know where Eze is going to play because he's not a left winger in the sense that Arteta likes his wingers to be quick, attacking sort of direct wingers. Yeah. Eze isn't that. No. He's not really a number 10, and if he is, what is he playing instead of your captain? Doesn't make sense. Madueke is a decent player, and I think he gets overhated. But when everyone's fit, does he even play? Because he's a right winger, and he's not better than Saka. And then Gyökeres, who at the moment, I think he will get goals for him. I don't know if he suits their system much better than Havertz does. No. So I actually watch them and think what you've brought is strength in depth. And me and Ronnie were chatting about this earlier. You've brought the ability to have a couple of injuries and not be overcome by it. Will that be enough to push them to a title? Maybe. They'll be hoping it is. But I don't think Arsenal's starting 11 is much better, if any, than last season's or the season before's. I just think now, when Saka gets injured, they won't drop off as much. No. And maybe that'll be enough for him. Hopefully it is, because otherwise it's going to be Liverpool probably winning the league. So I'd take Arsenal over that. What do you think? Do you think they've got better?
Not really. And I think they suffered from players that are very erratic, not looking as good as he did a couple of seasons ago, and also the loss of Thomas Partey. Look, Thomas Partey as a human being, that's a different conversation for a different podcast, but as a footballer, he did a very good job for them. Yeah. And I agree with you. I don't think Zubimendi is particularly, an improvement on that. I don't even think he's as good as him in that role. I also look at someone like Martinelli, for example, who I think has just fallen off a cliff. And a couple of years ago, he was quite an effective player for him. I think he got 15 Premier League goals, which you can't ignore. Yeah. And I think you'd be lucky if you get 5 out of him. From what I've seen of him recently, he just looks shocking. Yeah. I also think that your big players, the big players that you need to step up, can be a bit erratic in some big games. Like Saliba at times, I don't think he's quite... Last season was quite as good as the season before. No. He's one of them. Gabriel can be a little bit temperamental. I think he's a very good player though, Gabriel, but he can be a little bit temperamental. And Odegaard is one who can disappear in some big games.
We didn't even start him against Liverpool. And
I think you need these. You win titles because your big players step up. You don't win titles because all your fringe players get you last-minute winners. You win titles because you've got a core there that can step up and win you the big games, and then obviously the rest falls into place. Liverpool won the title because players like Van Dijk and like Mo Salah stepped up when they were needed.
Your fringe players will get you the first 80 points, but those big, like you said, the big games, the big wins, you need your top players.
You do.
Sort of
United did it because we could, not because we had, no disrespect to them, but players like, Javier Hernandez or whatever, although he played his part, it was because you had likes of Paul Scholes, because you had the likes of, going back further, Jaap Stam or Roy Keane and players like Eric Cantona who could just get you over the line, and certainly in those, big games, those 6-pointers. And I think Arsenal are lacking that. I think too many of their big players can go missing. Yeah. So that worries me because it pains me to say, out of all the options we've got other than United winning it, probably Arsenal's the less egregious to me, as someone who absolutely despises both Manchester City and Liverpool more than I hate Arsenal. So I look at it and I go, Arsenal, I agree with what you're saying. City are an interesting one. I'll get to, we're going to talk about Jadon Sancho in a sec as well, because there's not been quite the update as to whether that deal's over the line. Manchester City brought in, is it Reinders, brought in Shirky, brought in Art Nori, brought in James Trafford, brought in Donnarumma today. Yeah. Had a bad start to the season by their standards.
Very bad.
2 losses out of 3 games.
Worst in 20 years, apparently.
Yeah, by Pep Guardiola standards, especially after the season they had last season where they lost a second successive FA Cup final and didn't win a trophy for the first time, I think, since Pep's first season, and finished 3rd, I think, which is not the end of the world, but again, that's not what you'd expect from City and Pep Guardiola. Been a bit of an interesting one, hasn't it? Because they've not really been at it.
No. This is what I mean about spending money badly. I don't think they've spent it terribly, but they're just a worse team now than they were 4 years ago.
Yep.
Like the team that won the treble, I think you saw the sort of crescendo of a few different things. I think you saw Kevin De Bruyne's last real sort of impact at Man City. You saw players like John Stones have a spell without being injured for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
You also saw the sort of that white hot glow of Erling Haaland just coming into the team. And still a little bit of the Aston Villa was left on Jack Grealish, enough for him to be a little bit productive. Again, Kyle Walker, perfect. He was that kind of swan song hit for him as well.
Yeah, I know he did.
And again, Ederson, another one that has dropped off massively since then.
I think they got rid of him now, I think, obviously because Donnaruma's come in.
Exactly. So you look at the team now compared not just to that team, but the team 2 or 3 years before that, when you had Bernardo Silva in his mid-20s looking fantastic. De Bruyne in his late 20s, early 30s was a fantastic player. Riyad Mahrez, you could rely on him for 15 goals, 15 assists a season.
100%.
Do you know how hard that is to replicate? Look at the likes of Doku, Savinho. I mean, Oscar Bob's very young, but we'll have to wait and see with him. Some of the players that they've brought in since to try and replicate what Mahrez did, it's so hard to do that.
They're all talking no trousers, aren't they, a lot of these players?
Yeah.
They're not like something like Doku. When you see him coming on against you think, oh, fucking hell, nightmare. And then actually...
And then you watch the game and you go...
He takes on players, or he'll beat him, or he'll have a load of tricks, and he's entertaining, so we don't do much.
The cross isn't good enough.
Do you know what I mean?
So, yeah, I think they're a worse team now than they have been at any point, other than maybe last season when Rodri was injured, since Pep got there.
Yeah,
I think for the first time since he arrived, they haven't got the best team in the league. And I think that Pep struggles with that. And he looks like the way he's speaking, the way he's looking, the way the team looks, especially in that last 30 minutes against Brighton yesterday, they look like the fire's gone out.
They don't seem to have it in them, did it, this current City team, to do what they've done all the time, which is go on a fucking 25-game winning run.
Yeah, I don't know.
Where they'll just go, right, and they'll just win from like fucking October to March.
Yeah, and I'm not going to rule them out, because I predicted them to win the league before the season started.
I did as well, to be fair.
I'm not going to rule them out after 3 games. But losing 2 your
I'm
first
surprised
3,
at those 3 games though.
And yesterday,
2 of them.
Did you watch much of the game yesterday? The City Brighton game?
No, I didn't watch any of it.
So the last 10 minutes after Brighton got the winning goal, as it turned out to be, and after they got the equalisers even, you'd think it would be, right, come on, City, knuckle down, pick it up, let's sort of hammer their goal, let's go for this. None of that.
No.
Never looked like scoring once, and I just think that's such a bad
one thing
sign.
you can't quantify as well. United used to have it, and I noticed it with City, is where you've got that sort of reputation and almost like that sort of feeling around you that teams crumble around you, teams lack belief around you. Yeah. Teams will go to your stadium fucking, hoping for a 1-0 loss almost because that's respectable. It's just like, I feel like they've lost that a little bit, that edge on this City.
Massively.
Where teams actually feel like we can get a result here, we can do something against them. I watched the Spurs game and I thought Spurs were very good value for their win. Yeah. I know Pep was moaning about a decision or whatever, but it was always Spurs' win, that one. And let's not, despite the fact that everyone wants to wank over Thomas Frank, that Spurs aren't unbeatable. Was it Bournemouth just beat them at home?
Yeah, controlled them massively, yeah.
So it makes you think. Couple of things. John Kine says, Jesus wept, the Bible's shortest verse, John 11:35. His tears demonstrated his profound sorrow over the reality of death's power and the suffering it brings, while also his victory over it. Thank you for that one, because I use that phrase a lot. It's nice to get a bit of context. Gary Jacobs tweeted saying, Mark Guehi deal sheet lodged with the Premier League for a proposed 35 million move to Liverpool, maybe back on, so wait and see. I think they've sort of said, look, the window's short, but here's this. So if we can get it done, can it happen? We've seen that deal happen before. Jadon Sancho. We haven't got an update as yet as to what is going on. And also, while we're on it, I just want to mention Tyrone Malacia, who I don't think he's going anywhere.
No, he's staying.
And I feel a bit sorry for Tyrone Malacia because he's in this bomb squad. I think he's the least offensive person in it. I don't even think he should be really classed in any way the same as some of his peers. But it doesn't look like he's getting a move anywhere unless he goes to Saudi maybe. I think their window's still open. Or maybe Turkey.
Yeah.
Anna L says, fear factor Jay, sheer fear. Yep. Good point. Adam Leonard says, just got back from taking my 3-year-old to Peppa Pig World, so was loop the loop all day. Feels like a window worth of deals in one day. Thanks, lads. Abhinav Verma says, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea and Newcastle City have all spent more than us and got more players in over this year. How are we expected to compete?
With what I said before, you can spend money on the wrong players. And not like they're bad players. Yeah. I just don't think they're... Are Newcastle better now than they were last season?
Can we just get into this?
They're not.
Because I want to look at this.
Have a look at Newcastle's transfers. They are... I know they've just made a load of money, which is, will be helpful for them for the next year or two with the Isak money. Newcastle's squad and starting 11 that will be playing their games isn't better than it was last year. I don't think it is anyway.
These are some of the players they've brought in. And I think I missed. So they brought in the Nick Waltermaid from Stuttgart for 69 million quid. Yeah. It was about 75 million euros. They've got Jacob Ramsey from Villa for 43 million quid.
That feels like a lot of money to me.
It does to me as well. Malik Theo from Milan, 34 million quid. I'm not going to pretend that I've seen loads of them.
He came on against Liverpool, looked fine. Obviously, way too early to say, yeah.
Elanga from Forest, 55 million. I like Anthony Elanga, but is he a 55 million pound player, really? I don't think he is. And I know, Jay, things have changed. Well, have they? And also, they've lost Alexander Isak, their best player, and their almost talisman up front. And they've lost him in the worst possible way after sort of digging the heels and saying he's going fucking nowhere, briefing the press he's going nowhere, and letting everyone know that Liverpool can swivel, and then they've ended up selling him after not having him for 3 games when they needed him. So I just think that's been a bit of a disastrous window for Newcastle.
When you think what they wanted to do was bring in Mbeumo, who else were they looking at? I mean, loads of players United were linked with, and keep
Cunha,
Isak.
they wanted him, they wanted Sesko. And the way they went about things as well was so cat-handed. Like the Sesko one, where it was like they sort of tried to speak to Sesko and tried to get a deal done, but it was difficult because they hadn't got a director of football, because they've sacked Paul Mitchell, and there was a little bit of confusion as to who's actually steering the ship, and they didn't really lay out the plans properly.
A second bid in before we'd even put one in.
It's like they were bidding against themselves at one point, and you're like, what is going on here? And also, I don't give a fuck how many Champions Leagues you're in. You are not a big club, Newcastle. You're not as big as Manchester United anyway. And anyone who's got the offer of going to Manchester United or Newcastle is going to go to Manchester United unless it's fucking Alan Shearer in 1996 because he's a Geordie. Like, let's just be real.
This whole thing as well about this sort of top 6, the cartel and all that. On what planet would Newcastle have spent 200 million quid this summer if it weren't for their owners? Like, the only reason they can compete is because of their owners. That isn't the case for Manchester United. We don't have money because our owners chuck a load of cash at us. The fact that they are able to spend so much more than they should actually be able to spend because of these owners. And they still go on like, oh, it's not fair, we're not allowed to do this, that and the other. Yes, you shouldn't be able to spend the trillions of pounds your owners actually have at their disposal. That would ruin football. There has to be some limits here. But you brought in Isak as your club's record signing, let's not forget. You didn't, plant this little seedling in the fucking ground. He cost 60 million quid. Do you know what I mean? That's as much as most of the players United have signed this summer. And then you sold him for 130. I just think this whole no one's allowed to spend money except the top teams. Newcastle, you wouldn't be able to spend even a quarter of what you've spent. No, you'd probably be able to spend about half of what they've spent this summer if it weren't for their owners. And, they've got more than enough money to spend to be a good team.
Honestly, to do my head in, maybe we should ask Jamal Khashoggi what he thinks of their owners. Joshua Bowater says, Ronaldo Brown always makes this good point. Yes, we've improved, but have we closed the gap at all on Liverpool, etc., given their signings? I also think, and Ronnie's, I think, alluded to this as well, we have to look at who we're actually trying to catch this season. And unfortunately, long term, it was always going to be Liverpool because they're the champions at the minute. But even if you know what I mean. But right now, it isn't us trying to catch Liverpool this season. Yeah. Right now, it's probably us trying to be better than Spurs, better than Chelsea, better than Newcastle.
I'll tell you,
better than Villa.
Who we have closed the gap on. Yeah, we've closed the gap on Brentford, on Bournemouth, on Wolves, on Aston Villa, on Newcastle. I think we've closed the gap on Tottenham. I think we've closed the gap on Man City. Obviously, I'm not saying we're going to get better than them, but I think that gap will be shorter this season than it was last season. Yeah. I think we've closed the gap on most of the teams above us. I genuinely do. I think we have improved our starting 11 more than most of the teams above us, and a handful of them, Bournemouth, Brentford, Aston Villa, might be substantially worse than last season.
Yeah.
Brentford are hanging on for dear life at the minute.
Yeah.
Absolute, they've gone full Leverkusen there. So I think that, Manchester United have massively improved our first 11 with the addition of Cunha and Burmo. Sesko, I think, is better than Højlund, and we'll see that as time goes on more and more so. And the goalkeeper, I think, will be better as well. I don't think that's the case for a lot of the teams above us. I think teams are going sideways while spending a lot of money doing it.
Yeah, get involved in the chat in the comments. We're going to go on for another little while. We'll wrap up soon, but not just quite yet. There's some Ryan everyone's arguing with. Ryan in W in the chat says, no midfielder makes this a 3 out of 10 window. I'm afraid shocking. No one seems to agree with that one. Adam Twamley says, JD, you reckon we'll sign the loudest? Sorry, any midfielders before the close. Joe, would you take any players? He's retracted his message there. Sorry, I don't know. I was in the middle. Can we have a link to subscribe in the chat as well? Do subscribe. I think there's a link in the description. Give us a subscribe. We'll put a subscribe.
There's a subscribe button under the video. You can click on that as well.
Jump on that. But we'll put one in the chat. We'll put a subscribe link in the chat as well. Because over 4,000 people watching, which has been it's been a really impressive. For me, it's been an impressive window for Manchester United. Is it perfect? No. Obviously, we wanted a midfielder, but we've brought in a goalkeeper, which was just so important. We had to bring in a goalkeeper. Let's not forget, there's a chance we might not have, but we have done. We brought in, obviously, a striker and a well-known striker and a well-respected and sort of well-wanted one in Benjamin Sesko. 2 Premier League proven attackers in Brian Mbeumo and Mateus Cunha, and one for the future in Diego Leon in the left-back. I mean, I think it's a pretty positive window. I think it's one of the better windows we've had. What do you reckon? Go on, you can.
I agree.
You have a little butchers.
I mean, I've got the list of United's sort of recent windows.
Yeah.
So if we go back sort of to COVID, I don't want to go back forever. Last 3 or 4 years.
These are the ones we've covered.
So exactly.
On Paddock.
Is this window better than Donny van der Beek, Amad Diallo, Alex Telles, Facundo Pellistri, and Cavani on a free transfer? I think it improves us more than that window did and would. Although there's some, Cavani was good for a season and Amad's still here, so that's good, but the rest of that didn't help us improve whatsoever. The season afterwards, Sancho, disaster. Varane, good signing. Ronaldo, mixed, let's be honest. I think this is a better window than that one, even though at the time that felt amazing. The year after that, it was Anthony Casemiro, Malacia, and Lisandro Martinez. I think this is undoubtedly a better window than that one.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was Højlund, Mount, Onana, and Amrabat. Again, I think this is a much better window than that one. And then the last one is last season, which was Yoro, Ugarte, De Ligt, Xerxes, Dorgu was in the January, and Mazraoui. I think it's probably better than that as well.
Can I just say something as well? Sorry just to jump on what you said, but you made a really good point earlier about the whole midfielder situation, about how we need the right midfielder. Because you was naming some midfielders there we bought. And I remember when we lost at the Emirates to Arsenal a few seasons ago, and everyone was saying, when Sofian Amrabat comes in, our problems will be solved. And then in the Premier League, he flattered to deceive.
Yeah.
I know he was superb in the FA Cup final, but let's not start me going on about that again. But he didn't do what we needed him to do in the Premier League. Last season, it was Ugarte. Ugarte's going to come in. Most people in the chat and the comments were like, we're quite okay with Scott McTominay going if it brought in Manuel Ugarte because he was the type of midfielder we needed. And yet most people now expect him to leave. Like, you have to get the right midfielder in.
Yeah.
You can't just go out and get a midfielder, or let's just get anyone. Let's just go, we can get him. Let's get. If we think, whether it's Carlos Blaber or someone else, we think that is the long-term target and we need to sort of focus on him, then get him. Look at what the Scousers did with Virgil van Dijk, and it pains me to say it, but they've won 2 titles in the Champions League since he got there, which is hardly anything to be ignored. They went to get him, they couldn't, they waited to the next window, then they got him. They didn't just go, we can't get Van Dijk, let's just go out and get, I don't know, whoever. They waited for the right moment for the player they wanted. And I think United need to do a bit more of that, because we can't just go out and just go and get anyone, because that's kind of what's got us into this mess in the first place. It's just going out and getting anyone, and now we're stuck with a situation where Manuel Ugarte, out of a 5-man midfield, is our 6th choice. Like, it is insane.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, we don't want to be in that situation again. So I just feel, let's get the right man in, even though it is going to be a bit difficult at times this season. Ant L says one of the best windows in the last 12 years, in my opinion. Joseph, I think there's no more updates. I think we're just going to have to wait and see.
We've got to assume Sancho's going to happen, right?
Yeah, we will.
One of them coming up in about 2 hours where United tweet something, but surely that's happening.
like, we'll back in the morning. We will be back in the morning with the news. Plus, we're going to get Stephen Howson's take on the window and other stuff as well, aren't we?
Yeah.
So if you've not done so already, make sure you are subscribing to the channel. There's a link in the chat. Go and check out Joe on the Sloppy Joe's podcast. You know where to find me. That's been Joe Smith. I'm Jay Motti. This has been Transfers Live on Deadline Day. Thanks for watching.